All right, welcome to the Underdog Ecom podcast, where two ecom brand founders are figuring out in real time.
Yeah, we're not here to preach. We're here in the thick of it, making mistakes, testing all sorts of ideas, and really sharing the journey of how we've been growing these brands from day zero. Hopefully you learn a little bit, perhaps come away with some ideas that save you time and money. And so if you're tired of the same glittery D2C advice from those 9-figure gurus, you're here in the right place.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back. We're here, episode 19 of the pod. Hard to believe it's 19 episodes. Hard to believe it's almost end of July. Hard to believe it's 2025. So we're here in... Oh, no way. Don't even say that. Someone posted the other day, I think it was July 1st, was like the 50% mark of the year passed by. And I was like, oh man, that's wild. Don't do that to me. But Q3, everyone, you got your Black Friday schedule all lined up for emails and everything, Jack?
Oh God, if only. I mean, I am receiving a lot of people, a lot of like Klaviyo and the like emailing me about best brands have got their Black Friday already set up. I'm just like, how?
I looked at my Klaviyo bill. I'm not happy with Klaviyo. I looked at my Klaviyo bill a couple days ago, and because of my profiles have been increasing and my email sends have been increasing, yada yada yada, which costs them like 0.00000000001 cents to maintain and prosper. It's like $300+ now, and I'm just like, I'm not happy with that. So stop.
Speaking about bills, like I don't know what Shopify plan you're on, but I'm on the advanced plan because if I downgrade, like I don't. There's nothing else I would do. It's like 300 and something, maybe $400 a month, which is quite a lot.
Well,
I mean, I know Shopify is got a lot to it. So, but the reason is because we sell quite a bit internationally, and they've now changed it so that unless you're on the advanced plan, you only get 3 markets. I have 16 set up right now. And I was working it out like with ChatGPT and stuff. Right now I have like, because markets is pricing for different countries. It's, shipping, it's like a lot of different stuff. And it's really good. And if I was working it out, if it would decrease, if those market sales would decrease by, I think like 15-20% as a result of removing all the markets, basically just putting US dollar pricing and like not localizing it, we'd lose more than that every month than what we pay for the Shopify bill. So I almost have to keep it, but that's the only reason. And it's a difference between like $69 or $100, maybe it's like $100 and $400 almost.
wow.
I'm just like, oh my God, but I have to. I mean, unless I can't get rid of it.
That's a big jump. Yeah, that's hard. I'm on like the middle tier or whatever, the $100 a month or whatever. And I noticed recently that I had more user profile people logged in than they would let me. And like, I can't basically add someone without having to upgrade, even though I've already got more people in there. It's like, can I just remove this person and add a new person? No, not possible, because I'm stuck at like, with like 5 users or whatever, and the max is like 2 or 3 or something on my plan. It's frustrating how much they changed the plan requirements, because it wasn't like that months ago.
Yeah, and most companies they have like a legacy thing where like if you've been paying for a while and you're on that plan, they at least keep it for you. And I don't think Shopify does that. I think they literally just like pull the rug under your feet and change everything because the markets up until recently, you could have as many markets as you like on pretty much any plan. And now it's not the case. So yeah, and I don't know, it's annoying, but
that's hard. We are here to talk about today we'll talk about bid caps. But first we're going to kind of talk about what we've been up to, how are things going, that sort of thing. Jack's been diving deep into bid caps. I'm excited to dig into that in a moment once we dive through markets, Shopify plan features. But yeah, how's things going? What you been up to?
Pretty good. Yeah, I had a couple of days off, which is nice. It's been a little while since I had any proper time off, so that's been nice. And I think I mentioned on the pod, I got a couple of people kind of working for me now, and it was kind of the first time that I just kind of left them on their own and just hope they would still do what. And so yeah, it was.
Zach's gone. I'm in the office.
Yeah, exactly.
Virtual office.
Remote workers, parties in our dining rooms, in our offices, home offices. But yeah, no, it was nice. It was good. And then I'm just planning, basically trying to make sure we got enough stock for Q4, which is like I'm just doing a production run at the moment. I'm switching potentially switching suppliers,
Ooh.
which is something I'm really concerned about because I'm like
Yeah.
sending tons of samples to them, making sure, and I've also like updating some of the products at the same time. So it's kind of like updating the products plus switching suppliers. So it's at least for this run. So yeah, I'm hoping it all works out okay, but we'll see. We'll find out in October.
Wow, that's nerve-wracking. Is there, like, cost driven or location driven or tariff driven, or what's the reason?
I mean, some of it's tariff driven. Also, I was just getting a bit annoyed. I mean, I'm still working with our suppliers, but the original ones, but I was just getting a little bit annoyed with them because they've been like really bad with contact recently. I was there in April working through some samples with them. I received those samples yesterday from them. I was
Wow.
with them in April, and they originally
Wow.
said they're going to send me them in May. So they've been traveling a lot, and so I know that's why, but they're not really prioritizing, and I can understand we're a small brand, but it's just been quite frustrating recently. And I'd visited another supplier and got on quite well with them. I thought, well, for a number of reasons, tariffs, but also because they're just not really been, looking after me. Our current suppliers thinking, well, let's see what we can do, and I'm hoping it
Mhm.
works out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like, in a perfect world, we'd always be shopping around and making sure that we're getting the best deal cash flow wise and product wise and price wise on everything that we're making. It's so hard to keep that in balance because it's like for a lot of my things I've thought about like, oh, I need to probably be testing this thing and testing and like making a better version of this and making a better version of that and testing, see if this other supplier will do better for this. And it's often very rare when it lines up that I get samples for the same product from multiple suppliers. Like I've got one jacket right now where I'm gonna probably I have 2 samples in from 2 different suppliers and then another one coming in a couple weeks, I think, and that's pretty rare to have 3 versions of the same thing, which is kinda cool because you can see the differences and how people make things, the little minutia of it. Yeah, I'm staring over at it. It's like, "Oh, yeah, look at that, that's cool." Uh,
What else have
distracting.
you been up to?
Yeah, let's see, July's been flying by. It's been, I think, a little bit lower stress-wise of a month, which is great. I've cleared some stuff off my plate, able to focus a little bit more in on the things I'm working on, which is fun, and I'm also kind of in prep mode for this fall, and I feel like for the first time in a while, I might be not super behind releasing products on time. I've got shorts that are like a production run of shorts, which are landing in probably a couple weeks, which is probably would be better to land in like May for summer if you're in the US. But that's fine. But I am working on a bunch of winter items and also summer of next year and spring of next year items. And like some of these samples over here are for probably will launch in spring because it's more of a like a running shell jacket, which is super fun. And it's been fun to dig into product dev mode and kind of do that. And I feel like sales wise and revenue wise, things have done pretty well. Wholesale's picked up quite a bit over the last week or two, which is very sporadic. Like wholesale's an interesting world. I'm trying not to get too drawn into the shiny dollar signs on the big valued orders. It's like AOV over $1,000. Okay, I'll take that. But there's a lot of costs to those benefits. But it has picked up, which is really nice for the business. And
It reminds me a
I'm
bit like
excited.
those, those like those business gurus that are like, if you just have 10 clients that pay you $100,000 a year, you'll be rich. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, who's doing that?
Yeah. Did you see? Yeah. Did you see? There's a viral video trend like a couple weeks ago where it was like, get. I made a version of it where it was like, design or make 10 hoodies, sell hoodies for $1,000 each,
Yeah.
make $1 million a year or whatever. Like, be super rich. Perfect,
Yeah.
man. Math
Yeah,
checks out.
exactly that.
Pretty funny. Pretty funny. Yeah, so things have been like cruising along and I'm excited for the future and it seems like things are starting to click a little bit more, which is good, dare I say it, after
Yeah.
some
Always
stressful few
afraid to
months.
say it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, cool. Should we dig into I want to hear more about bid caps if there's nothing else we should
Yeah, let's do
cover.
it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
So
tell us.
y- yeah. So I think when it was episode 13, I think we said before we started the pod that's when we first
Yep.
mentioned about bid caps. Obviously, it's become more of a popular thing. Definitely, I think 2 or 3 years ago, very few people were using. Well, maybe 4 years ago, very few people were using big caps. It was kind of seen as like a, kind of like a bit of like so something that was never really going to work out in the long run because it's kind of it's one of those things where when you think about big caps, it's like, well, if it were that easy, wouldn't everyone do it? I think one thing I think is that Meta is leaning more into it than they were
Hmm.
before. I think they were definitely pushing for lowest cost before, but maybe it's because of like just everything going on in the economy, and I think maybe they've kind of come to the conclusion that if you if you actually help, if you like promote something that helps brands make money, then you're probably overall going to make more money yourself versus like
Basically,
let's just try and get let's just try and get brands to spend regardless of the return.
a slight pivot in mindset from let's like wring every single cent out of all these
Yeah,
companies that pay us billions so Zuck can have his 10th island, 10th private island. And
exactly.
maybe we should help them a little bit more out of the benevolence in our heart.
That being said, I think, and this is a bit of a side thing, but I think e-commerce probably accounts for like such a small percentage of their revenue, and it's probably mostly people doing like, or like,
Yeah,
you know, like hotels doing like, or like awareness campaigns and yeah, all that sort of stuff.
that's true.
You know,
That's true.
but anyway, yes, on the e-commerce front, I mean, the way I've done it, and I've been listening. Well, I was listening quite a bit when I first started setting them up to Andrew Ferris, and Andrew Ferris, is that his name? The
Oh yeah, Andrew Ferris. Yeah, I think so.
yeah, I think that's his name. He's got his like, he's got his podcast. I think he was working with Click, with
C2C.
what, yeah, CTC, Common Thread Collective, and
Yep.
I mean, he does some really in depth stuff on big caps. So,
Mhm.
um, I mean, I don't know if it all. I don't think it all applies to me because I think we're not at the volume. But I mean, the way I was kind of doing it was really just one campaign. I mean, a lot of our products are around a similar price point, so I had like one
Mhm.
campaign with 1 day click, like an ASC with bid caps, and then I
Mm,
brought in a second campaign, which is like a target ROAS,
mm,
essentially two campaigns. And I just started like funneling in creators. I started with stuff that been working a bit in the past, um, and then just started adding to it. So in June, let's see if I can bring up the numbers. Bid caps campaign on sorry, yeah, on the yeah, the big caps campaign, I was on like a 2.8 ROAS throughout the month.
awesome.
With quite a bit of spend, like with maybe, I mean, with much low, with maybe, I mean, okay, so it's much lower spend than I was normally spending, but it was like about
Mhm.
$3,000 in spend.
Mm.
And then another 2,000 on the target ROAS campaign. That had a bit of a lower ROAS. I think it was like just under two. I can look at it. Yeah, just under two.
What was your target for the target ROAS? Was it 2?
So it was actually 2.5. And this is what's
Okay.
interesting about, actually, there's another thing about big caps is that they will actually spend more than you set. I think it's not, it's in my experience, they aren't actually going to, I mean, always spend under your target. So if you set a bid cap at, I think ours is set at like $75 because we've got like an average order value of maybe 180 or something. And so, but they often spend more. Or what
Mm.
happens I often see is that if a campaign starts to pick up sales, the campaign will start spending a lot more and overspend, and then it will start to compensate again and go back. But like this month, for example, it's gone down, the ROAS, and actually on the target ROAS campaign, it's gone down quite a bit. I
Mm.
think it's because we did well in the month of June, and obviously demand is a bit less in July, people on holiday or whatever, but it's still
Mhm.
spending as if it would.
Mm.
And so this is why I don't think it's definitely not like perfect by any means.
Yeah.
Bid caps, I
Foolproof.
don't think it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely not foolproof because I've noticed that that it just kind of picks up data, then runs with it, and then it has to revise, and then it will overspend and underspend, and so it's it's not great from that perspective. But I suppose if you compare that to just like setting a daily budget, where again you're spending whether demand is there or not,
Yeah.
I mean it's probably slightly better. So we spent a lot less money, but I've made looking at Clio, the um I mean I the like the margin. see if I can bring up the margins here, but like it's so much better than
Cool.
it has been in the past. Like it's incredible. Like I mean, I'm not saying like I'm like like the revenue is not incredible, but the like the profitability is incredible. And
Hmm.
I think I've been doing this for maybe 2.5 months now, and I've also just been like trying to like keep a really like actually just like bank balance, like what's happening, week on week. So every Friday, I kind of like spend a bit of time on seeing comparing how it was the Friday before, what expenses have we got up, like going coming up, like and all this sort of thing.
Hmm.
And for like the first time, it's just like I feel like I'm adding to the bank balance. It's not like a massive amount, but I feel like after all costs, like I'm actually growing money in the account, and it's
That sounds great.
it, it does. I mean, it sounds great. I mean, there's a lot of caveats there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because I think that this is why this is like the downside of profitability, like focusing only on profitability, is that it sounds amazing, like it sounds really good, but you actually have to grow profitability at a certain rate. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you will use up all your stock before you actually have enough cash in the bank to pay to buy more inventory.
Yep.
And so that's the problem I have with this is that, like, for example, if you were $1 profitable, a
Hmm.
day, that $1
Hmm.
is not really going to do anything for you. Even if you make an extra dollar every day of the year, it's not going to make it. It's not really going to help. It's
Hmm.
better than losing money, but it's not really going to help. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I mean, like if in terms of so if I go,
I
so
have
I'm
so many
bringing
questions
this
right
up.
now.
Yeah,
So
sorry,
many
you go ahead
questions.
while I'm bringing this up. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, fire away.
Uh, okay. So is there a reason why you went with ASC over auction for the campaign type?
ASC over auction. Well, that's a good question. I've tried bid caps with you mean like with the manual campaign?
Yeah. Yeah. Just like a non ASC campaign. Manual. I guess
Yeah.
manual is what they call it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've in the past I've always done it manual. When I've tried bid caps, and it's not worked for me. And I'm not saying like I'm not going to say like it's because of an ASC campaign. It probably has nothing to do with that. But the fact that there is now bid caps in ASC, I I just thought, you know what, I haven't done this before. Let's do it this
Yeah.
way.
Cool.
Um,
It
and I
does
think
see like,
that they
it
seem to
does
be
seem
kind of
like,
merging them anyway.
yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, like, you can't even, I don't think, set up a manual campaign very easily anymore. And it seems like ASC is what Facebook is pushing. And also, I set up my bid cap. So for the listeners out there, I also have had a bid cap campaign running for the last couple months to try and test it out, and it's not been working as well. And so it's not been spending, like, there's been weeks where I've spent $10 maybe. And I was looking at the stats. The last 30 days, my campaign spent my bid cap $300. Like really good ROAS, 3.4, cost per purchase 24. Pretty solid numbers, but like just not spending at all. And so this is where I'm really curious on like what Jack's doing, because I think you did more research into how this works and what to do from really smart people like Andrew Ferris. And so I have many more questions to dig through here as we can try and figure out like how to how to be better at bid caps, I guess, or something. Do you have different? Oh wait, no. So it's ASC. You don't have different ad sets per product. I think that's why I went manual, is because I have
Yeah.
different products. My products are priced. I'm not going to do ads for stickers, but stickers are $4. I've got other products that start at 30 and go up to 100. Sometimes I will be launching stuff that's over 100, but that's generally what my price tiering looks like, with a lot of them around the $40 mark. And so my thought was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to separate it out into different campaigns. I don't know if the t-shirt bid cap makes sense to be the same as like the sweatshirt or the hat. And so I have it separated in terms of
Yeah.
product type.
Yeah, and this is where I just don't know because I've just been focusing mainly on like our best sellers and creating a lot of
Yeah.
like a lot of ads around that and
Hmm.
trying to get them to spend. Now, I think there's definitely a case for like if you can if you have enough volume to like continue to go out and have more ad sets and things like that. The problem is like, and I'm sure Andrew Farris, like I think he's talked about like only having a certain amount of I think he's talked, yeah, like talked a little bit like having a certain amount of ad sets, sort of ads within an ad set, separating. I think even separating products out by campaign, not even ad sets. So having like a campaign,
Oh.
that is that's like a possibility. But the problem is that I think at the beginning it's just getting them to spend. And I think when I've done, because like I said, I've done manual campaigns before, and I've had different ad sets, and I've had different products with ad sets, or I've had different, and yeah, and I just haven't been able to spend them. And I don't know whether it's like Meta's just like, you're not a big enough. like you don't have enough volume to be able to do this, and so therefore we can't be. It just doesn't run. Like I said, it's been in the past. It's been like $5 over a week or something, and
Yeah.
now it's starting to spend money. I mean, it's not spending tons of money. I mean, it's not, but like I'm at probably 85-90% of the same level of sales with literally like a quarter of the amount of spend.
Amazing.
Maybe like
That's awesome.
maybe like 15% of the amount of spend. And so I
Cool.
take that. How I grow it from here, I don't know. This is why my questions come. It's like I probably another thing is I'm loading up this ASC with new creatives like over and over. So I keep adding more creatives,
That was my next question. Like,
links, videos.
do you have like a routine where you're like, all right, every week I'm going to add 5 creatives in, or what's your like creative schedule, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think I try and give enough time so that I can actually see if anything's working. Because then I try and see like, okay, maybe I'll try and create something similar to that again or something like that. So maybe it's a week to 10 days, and it's like things are spending, I'll create a few more ads around that. Or just if one product's missing in there, like so if we want to launch a new bag and we've got tons of creators about a different bag, but not this one, then I'll start to focus on that one because I want to sell that one. So I think actually when we're talking about what products to focus on, I almost think about the volume of creative that you do for that particular product will often influence whether that product gets spent and gets eyeballs to it and therefore sells more. So it's almost like, okay, well, we want to sell more of this product. We need to create more creative around this product versus do we split it out into a campaign and things like that. That's the way I've been looking at it. And I think the simplicity has been good. The only problem is that it's an unwieldy amount of ads now in this campaign.
Yeah.
And at some point, I guess I'll have to create another campaign or something. And then it gets to the point, and then it gets the question like, well, what is that campaign's purpose? Is it just like another campaign with another ton of creatives in competing against the one I've got running? Or is it a different, do I start to separate out on different products, even
Do you
different markets
turn,
as well? So
yeah, do you turn any of the ads off in
I'm not,
your campaign? Huh.
and this
Do
is,
you ever,
I'm not, yeah, right, sorry.
I was going to say, like, in my bid cap campaign, I've seen it multiple times in some of the ad sets. I'm looking at it, like, actually only one of my ad sets is really spending. It's got like 90% of the spend.
Yeah.
Example, one of the other ones has $8 spend all time. Um, and inside those other campaigns where it's not spending, I'll get this error message. I showed you this off air, where that says like error could not deliver ad. I think just because it can't find people for it or something based on that bid cap. Do you ever get that error on any of your ads?
Yeah, I got it in the past. I've got it a lot with carousel ads. I don't know if that's what you're running, but I found carousels are just seem to have problems with them all the time. I don't know, for me anyway, where it's like an ad delivery error and then you duplicate it and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Mm.
I don't think that's in my experience, that's not a bid cap specific thing. I think I've just seen it in general, especially when you're duplicating an ad from one campaign to another. I feel like I always get some of them have errors. And sometimes it's like they give you a code that makes like no sense at all, and you're looking at it thinking like what does that
Classic.
mean? Is that English?
Classic ad manager. I've got another question. Did you set up your bid cap based on like, here's my AOV and here's my general margin for all my products? So it's more of like a high level, because your stuff is, pretty similar across the board, right?
Yes, and that's where I suppose I'm a bit luckier is that I've got like a generally like same AOV, so I can kind of
Yeah.
just be like generally. And this is where it's probably very different for you because if you've got a campaign with shorts in versus a campaign or hats, for example, versus a campaign of like a hoodie, there's a different AOV there, and so it might be that you need to split them out because the bids are
Okay.
just so different.
Yeah.
So I think
Like
that does make sense.
that. Okay. That's helpful. Yeah, like example wise from my like my ad sets, I've got a bid cap at 21, 37, 39, 22, and 24, all based on profitability of that particular product collection, basically. And it's like, those aren't crazy different. So it ranges from 21 to 39, but that is, the high end is twice the low end, basically. So it feels like enough of a range where it justifies splitting it out. Maybe I need to turn off this campaign and try testing an ASC bid cap where it's all consolidated and just focus on like the really, really good winners, I guess. Might be something I think about in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might be the way to do it. I don't like the idea of like people say with meta ads, or you should just have one hero product for ads anyway and stuff like that. I've heard that kind of argument, and then you should sell the rest to like as auxiliary purchases and things like that. I don't know if that's really true. I mean, I don't know if that's really the way to go, but I do think that if you can at least group similar AOV products within a campaign, that might be the way to do it. Um, and
I
I was
will
just I
say,
was gonna say, yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was gonna say follow up on that point around the hero product thing. I actually feel like that's one of my biggest unlocks this year has been focusing on a particular product collection that's higher price pointed than a lot of my stuff, and like that's been driving 70+% of my ad spend because it's working for ads, and like a lot of my other stuff doesn't seem like it works for ads. And so I do think there's a lot of validity to that type of statement of like focus on a hero collection or a hero product and then have the other stuff fall in line. Every industry or subcategory of products is different. Like apparel is a little different than like bags and that sort of thing. But like I think that depending on the business, that might actually make a lot of sense for people out there. That's been a huge unlock for me to just to like, oh yeah, this particular thing, like hoodies, outerwear for me, for example, has been very successful for my Facebook ads, whereas a lot of the other things, it's been a constant struggle over the last couple of years to try and hit profitability with the ads.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really. I mean, and the other thing you're talking about, like turning off ads, I really don't know, because Meta
Mm,
does say to turn off ads, like they seem to be
mm.
pretty like say to do that, and I think for bid caps it might make a lot of sense because of the fact that I think if you get like so much creative within a campaign, can Meta even like run all of those at the same time? Or is it better just for
Trust
like
the meta gods. They know what they're doing. I don't know.
yeah.
It is a polarizing question because I feel like there's people that are absolutely turn off your ads when they don't work. You should do it. And then there's people that are like, leave them on. And I think we've sort of discussed this before in the
Yeah.
past in prior episodes. But yeah, I don't know the best answer to that. Hmm.
Um, Matthias from Clio. So he had a lot of input as well. I had a call with him as when I was
Nice.
setting it up, and like he was showing me what he was doing with his. It's because he's basically not touched his ad account apart from adding in, like he's adding creators, but he's not touched the campaigns for I think like a year or two now. It's kind of crazy where he just
Cool.
adds more ads into the campaign and hasn't turned them off. Hasn't like maybe made a few adjustments in like bids occasionally, but like basically left it where it is and just adds more ads into the campaign. So I
Hmm.
was I was taking a page out of that book, and I can see the benefits there in terms of the less you touch it, there's also a benefit there. Um,
Mhm.
but it does get to a point where if you're creating a significant volume of ads, I mean, I mean, there is a limit anyway to an ASD, like how many ads you can have in a campaign. So I think when you're getting to that level, you maybe need to start splitting it out and saying, okay, well, this I'll turn off the ads in this ad set that are about such and such products, and I'll start to focus on, or I'll just turn off the ones that are not really spending anything because what's the point of them being active if they're not
Mhm.
spending, I guess. But maybe that's the time you decide that, like when you're actually just creating quite a lot of ads, and at the beginning, maybe when you're creating a few ads a week, it probably doesn't matter too much.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you track the ads in like a spreadsheet or something like that in terms of performance, or are you just logging into Ad Manager and looking at, last 90 or maximum kind of time windows?
Well, do you know what I've been using actually recently is, and I'm not shilling this. I'm not nothing to do with these people, so
Shill
I'm
alert,
almost like
shilling alert,
I'm
shilling alert.
almost like hesitant to mention them to be honest, because like I don't know, I've only recently been used it, but like it's called Atria,
Yeah, I've heard.
ATRIA. Yeah, so I mean I connected that up, and that's been really good in terms of actually just pulling through on the creative level, like creatives not
Lauren,
working.
I've been looking at their platform for a while and been very tempted. I feel like the price has gone up. I think I remember seeing, but
It it
it
has
does look
gone up.
sexy.
Yeah, it has gone up. And so I've been testing out for a little bit, and
Huh.
just seeing like I think they've got like a month trial or something. So I've been kind of seeing how that's been going, kind of just seeing because it's been good. It's quite good to see. What I find really hard about Ads Manager in Meta is that if you've got one campaign, this works to an extent, but sometimes if you've got like it's hard to see specific creative how like or is how it's performing because it'll actually split out all the variations of that
Mhm.
creative, and then but you don't necessarily want to see all the variations because it's that ad that you're caring about and actually seeing like how that like that ad creative is working and not the variations with different texts and the variations with
Mhm.
headlines that are different stuff. Like it kind of muddies the waters of the analytics. Whereas I think a lot of these platforms, what they do is they kind of reconsolidate it so you can see like, okay, this creative is working, especially if you've got it in multiple campaigns as well. Like I
Mhm.
think I've got like that's the other thing, and I don't know if this is true, but the bid cap and the target ROAS have pretty much identical ads inside, like
Mhm.
identical. I literally just copy them over to the target ROAS
Mhm.
campaign after I create it in bid caps,
Mm.
because what I've been hearing is that they're kind of different inventories and therefore they don't really like affect each other.
Mm.
And so you can have both running and they're not really competing. And that was something I heard
Mm.
from Andrew Farris, is that he's like here's what he does. He's like anytime he's got a bid cap campaign and he'll just duplicate that as a target ROAS. I don't know. But the other thing I find as well, which is I don't understand this. I find that one week the bid cap campaign is doing really well and it'll go down a little bit, and the target ROAS starts doing really well and the target ROAS stops spending and the bid cap goes up. And I don't really understand because they've got the same ads inside. So why is one
But
spending and getting a good, like a higher spend and the other one's not spending? I don't know.
I assume so that was good because I was curious about the difference and why you had both in there. So that's helpful to know that context. I was also curious, like I assume you have really high budgets, daily budget set up on both. Is that true or?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. I originally had them very high, and like yeah, like I because like, that's what people tell you is like have it, you know, $5,000 a day, $10,000 a day, and set it that high because then it will let Meta know that you're, you know, or I don't know what the thinking process behind.
You're willing to play the game.
Yeah, Wings play the game. I
And
didn't
that
have
ever
it that high, but I had it that I had it like inflated quite a bit, and then when I showed it to Matthias, he was like, well, I don't think you to be doing that. Like that just sounds risky for for no reason. Like
Mhm.
just put the bit like put it somewhere you're comfortable spending because it might overspend. And that's the other thing with big caps is they can overspend. And
Mhm.
so I've seen where the people they told me like it can overspend. And so if you set a very inflated budget, it can overspend that and actually like spend like a few $1,000s and then you've actually like a point 0.5 ROAS and you're like, oh shit. So
Yeah.
um that's something to be careful about as well.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah,
I've got mine set at 500, so it's like kind of high for my tiny account, but also not 5,000. So that's good to know. That's good to hear. Don't go crazy inflated. Interesting.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to just bring up some like actual like numbers in terms of contribution because like that's the other thing is like it's just I think contribution margin is the thing as well in terms of like if I compare maybe you know in like February or March, even March, because I hadn't run anything yet. Um, I mean, if I look down in like if I can clear like I'm losing money. Like I've got like it's like red in terms of
Mhm.
contribution margin throughout in
Which
March and
what tab are you looking
throughout
at, Cleo?
I'm in acquisition. So you see it says like has like yellow orange ad spend, then like blended CAC, new cost per contribution margin, and it's like green or red basically, and you can see the green up and the red going down. And I
Yeah.
can see like a ton of red, a ton of red in
Yep.
like no, January, February, March, and then April, May, June. Like in June, there's literally no red at all, like or maybe like a tiny bit. And then like it's like and I can see also um, contribution margin has gone up like from like basically zero some days up to uh like quite a bit like several times over. So I think and my so my blended uh yeah my CAC so cost of acquisition is like 80 something dollars across new customers. So most of that is ads. Um
Mhm.
which it was
Mhm.
definitely a lot higher before. And that sounds like a lot, but I'm, you know, when it's like a almost $200 AOV, like that's a lot. That's kind of where I wanted it to be on ads, just because it gives me margin for like ads
Mhm.
plus product cost of goods sold plus the margin.
Mhm.
So I think that's what I'm trying to focus on. I think is kind of like the end of the thing. But I think one thing my main takeaway is that I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do this. And I think it's evolving over time because I don't know if this would have worked
Mhm.
last year. And I don't know if
Mhm.
it'll continue to work. That's the other thing. I don't think it's going to continue to work. I think I'll have to, not to say like necessarily I will not do bid caps, but I think that the way you do it has to actually change all the time. And I
Mhm.
think consistency is important. Like if you're constantly changing things, you can't see what works. But I think at the same time, if you try and apply something from 2022 to 2025 and just expect it to fully work, I doubt it is, because Meta's constantly changing the platform, like adding new features, you know, and I think they prioritize things as well. I think they're prioritizing bid caps a little bit more now than they were 3 years ago. And so, and that may not be the case in a year's time or 6 months' time. And it might be that and it might not be that I don't want to do this for Black Friday and things like that, because it might that value, the level of sales a bit more than I do the profitability and things like that. So I think that's what's really tough about Meta ads in general, is just trying to it's not a consistent thing. I don't think, in some ways, like, you have to grow. Obviously you want to grow your sales through that, and but I think it doesn't mean that you can apply one tactic and then suddenly that's it for the rest of the year.
Basically, this stuff is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to yeah, I think that all makes a lot of sense. It is always changing, always evolving. I think you're right, like, probably November, this is probably a really good time to play around with this and try it out and see
Yeah.
what's working, and, like we've talked about before, like, everything's different for every brand, and so it's all about, like, especially with Meta ads, it's kinda like what fits your customer profile and your brand target in terms of metrics and margins and stuff like that. Like, it is there's not one thing fits all. This is really interesting. I think, like, I'm gonna you're motivating me to try and switch over, because that's the other thing is, like, as I've told you off air, like, I've got ASC running on top of bid caps, and I've had people say that's not the best. I think Matthias said, like, don't do that, but the bid cap hasn't been working, so maybe I just need to pull. Yeah, I'm gonna sit down and, like, try and dig through this a little bit more. It's hard when everything else is on fire. It's like, this needs to be a huge chunk of time. Everything needs to be a huge chunk of time. There's not that much time in the day, but I do think I'm gonna try and sink my teeth and do it more based on our conversation here. So this is good stuff.
Yeah, I think you made a good point about being the time of year as well. I think if someone wanted to test this, I do think now is the time, generally
Yeah,
speaking.
yeah,
Because yeah, like, if your sales, I mean, our sales are a little bit lower now than they were a month ago, than they were 2 months ago, because of just seasonality, and so it's easier to test this now, because if you turn off, say, your ASD with lowest cost, if you wouldn't want to do that in November, right?
right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, now is a bit more of the time to do it, potentially, but yeah, it is hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's. Did you have any more thoughts? I think that's a pretty good wrap for this.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's cool to kind of compare, because I was kind of thinking about doing this in 2 or 3 months ago, and now I've kind of done it for a little bit, and I think I've learned quite a bit, but it's a rocky road. But yeah, that's all from me, I think.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for digging into numbers. Hopefully, y'all out there learned something. Got some takeaways for your at-home exercises. No, it's good stuff. Let us know what you're trying, what you're doing, what you're testing. I think that rising tide lifts all boats. We're all trying to figure this out together. That's why you're here on the pod. All right, catch you all later.
See you.